I was literally in the middle of editing this video when I found out this happened. Hello everyone, this is Angela and welcome to my channel, Angie the ENTJ. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and to click on the notifications bell so that you'll know whenever I upload any new videos. Listen, an abuser needs for you to believe in their charades so that they can keep on milking you out of your resources. They are absolutely afraid of the moment in time when the fog clears, when the smoke clears, and you all begin to see them for who they truly are, which are people who have the lowest self-esteem on the planet. They are nothing without you. They know it. They know that they are not on your level. However, they fear the day that you will realize it. That is the first thing to frighten them. The next thing they fear is that you will seek out retaliation against them. They are afraid of enduring the very pains they have caused you. They are afraid of you doing to them that which they have done to you. However, their worst fear that they have of you is your success. They fear you moving on. They fear you doing better. And they fear being a part of your distant memories. They fear being forgotten and being seen as insignificant. This is why, particularly with women, abusive men want to hurry up and get us pregnant as soon as possible because they want to make a permanent mark, a constant reminder of who they are and what they did. Or in general, abusive people do things to harm us and leave a reminder for all to see that they were once with you, that you were once under their spell. It can be in the form of injury to your body, or damage to your reputation, or the destruction of your property that took years to obtain or years to construct and maintain. Abusive people fear your growth and maturity, and they absolutely hate the fact that they lack the energy and the ambition that you have. They hate that they lack it, and because of it, they can't get their own lives in order. They hate being a leech to you. However, they will drain you of your vitality before they get out and do what they need to do and sweat and get their lives in order for themselves. I've not uploaded a video in a while, and yes, it was on purpose. The reason is because not only has everything that I discussed in previous videos on this channel played out in real time, everyone needed to see the abusers for who they really are. The people who needed to see them as is are the ones who are still buying the abuser's lies. That's one. But on the other hand, the other group, these are the people that feel like giving these abusers the same tools that we accepted will get them to somehow change for the better. You see, all of these people, the ones who are under the abuser spells and the other ones who see them as they are, but hope that, just give them some time and some opportunity and they'll change. All of these people needed to see the charades fail and our collective condition worsen, because we are dealing with people who do not know, for instance, how to run a household. They do not know how to manage a community. I'm talking about the abusers. And they are certainly clueless about running a nation, especially one as complex as the United States. On top of it, especially for the group of people who still have hope in these abusers' ability to change without intense therapy. They needed to see these abusive people have no interest in becoming better people. That is something that you can only experience. You can't talk about it. You just have to see it for yourself, okay? You cannot hope and pray these abusive people into being better people. You can have hope. You can pray. I'm not saying that you should not. However, what I am also explaining is that it takes a lot of action, not on your part, but on theirs, in order for that change to occur. And there is nothing you can do about it beyond hoping and praying and also leaving them to their own devices. When dealing with abusers, what you need to understand is that their mentality is, for instance, why should I be polite and empathetic? Why should I do polite and empathetic things and be nice to people and take all of that time and effort and energy when I can just be a brute and bully people into giving me what I want? So it's quicker and it gets me what I want sooner. And then I have more time to bully and abuse more people to get more and more of what I want. This is how they're thinking. Okay. We have people that are still seeing people who think like these abusers, as an unfortunate lot who just need to have access to education, empathy, and exposure outside of, their little bubble in order to finally catch up to where the rest of us are. They have hope that all you got to do is just give them time and another chance, right? Let me tell you something. As an abuse survivor who's gone through therapy, who's over that experience and has moved on. It was hard, but I'm here, so it's possible, right? One thing is certain. The only thing that abusers are looking for are another chance to make a fool out of us. We saw that within a day when this dude came up with the idea of the so-called Purple Revolution. Here you go.
So, accountability. I've been doing some thinking. And I said at the very beginning that I would do what I have to do to make sure I bring our people together. So first things first, what I'm going to say is that I apologize from the bottom of my heart for voting for Trump, for voting for everything that ended up happening. I still to this day feel sick to my stomach looking back at the person that I was. And there's no excuse for it, no matter if I was manipulated or whatever you want to call it, in a cult.
Okay, so he was cool with the Purple Revolution, right? Here he was a day later after we read him for filth.
Bunch of fucking There's all a bunch of you people on there saying that I tried saying the N-word. Pussies, I will never fight for you. I don't give a fuck about fighting for people's human right.
The only way to deal with an abuser is to completely cut them off. I will not say that a person is unredeemable. Surely there may be some abusers who can, with a lot of work, see the light, so to speak. However, it takes psychiatrists to work with them. And unless you are a licensed clinical practitioner earning at least $300,000 a year to deal with them as a client, then you need to accept there is nothing that you can do with these people. As a matter of fact, abusive people are narcissistic, and they are the hardest mental health patient to treat. The only thing that one who is not a licensed psychiatrist can do when dealing with abusive, narcissistic people is for you to distance yourself from them. Keep them away from you, your possessions, the people within your social networks, including your family, friends, and work colleagues. Just cut them off completely. Do not view yourself creating distance and preserving your mental and physical health and peace as a form of punishment to them. Don't see yourself as someone who is punishing them. Just see yourself as someone who is implementing a form of protection for yourself. So, back to unhinged, abusive, narcissistic people, especially when they get into government. Now we see what can happen when we allow unhinged abusers to remain near us for too long. They can cause irreparable damage to our lives. This is how they are, every single last one of them. They create disaster, no matter what. Listen, many abusers have a fracture within their childhood that takes a trained professional to navigate and to help them to heal. That is for those who are willing to do the work. And again, this is something the abuser has to want, not for you all to hope and put your energy into bringing about the change. For instance, most children of divorced parents, when their parents broke up, they were between the ages of 6 and 14. Okay. Bear in mind, there were problems within that dysfunctional family that led to the breakup. And then there are problems afterwards. And the children could be, deeply affected by it if care is not taken. And let's not exempt the dysfunctional homes where the parents remained married, but it was total and complete chaos. Can you imagine the children who are being exposed to their parents being physically, mentally, or emotionally violent or neglectful? They witness one of their parents cheating on the other or finding out that they have siblings on the other side of town. They are living through a parent who has an addiction and they are going days without food or having their basic needs met. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I knew of a guy who was a few years older. He was smart and talented. However, his dad, as it turns out, was on that stuff. Well, the guy, the kid that I once knew, turned into a full-on, pants-sagging, gold grill having thug after he found out that his dad tasted eggplant, if you know what I mean, in exchange for money so that he can buy his street pharmaceuticals. This kid, after his dad did that, was in fights everywhere because he was trying to show up as the man that his dad wasn't, so to speak. This kid, every time you turn around, he was threatening people with weapons. And when he fought, he badly injured people, particularly other boys. He ended up committing increasingly violent crimes, and it escalated to him robbing people. Right now, he is still doing time in the pen to this day. So if you can imagine, if this person were to get out of the penitentiary, how fractured he is, and the kind of work that it would take to mend him back to being whole. He is not going to be thinking in the same line as a person who had a well balanced upbringing. He is going to recreate the chaos that was normal to him before he went into the pen. He is going to want people around him to perform in roles that will bring him back to the age that he was at the time when he was fractured. He will want to be with a woman who shows the traits of the same vulnerability his mother had when his father groomed her and impregnated her while she was a teen. He will want someone to also mimic his grandparents, particularly his grandmother, who kept rescuing him from being starved, from being without clothes, and from being too bad off, while his parents were going haywire. She was the mule for him, so to speak. So Once that guy, just using him as an example, is out and he recreates that environment, the next thing he will do is that he will be obsessed with controlling it so that he can maintain his level of comfort at everyone else's expense. This is why so many men are out here walking around and talking about how they want a woman to basically be a substitute mother for them. They want her to cook and to clean and to do laundry and to go 50-50. They want to recreate who their struggling single mother was when they were a kid, but in the form of a girlfriend or a fiance or a wife. Meanwhile, they want to take on the role of their dysfunctional father who will weaponize his time, his money, and other resources against the mother as a means to control her. There is a void within them, and they have attempted to manipulate relationships with women in order to fill that void. However, they do not realize that in our feminine eyes, in our feminine gaze, as women, we see them behaving like kindergartners, or they're behaving like 8-year-old little boys who think that it's cool to tease little girls on the playground. They tease women, but it takes them back to that time when they used to, tease little girls on the playground. They think that it's all right to walk around smelling weird and not taking baths, just like little 7 and 8-year-old boys who have yet to be disciplined for their bad behavior. Because when they were 7 and 8-year-old little boys, the dysfunction around them was so great that there was no one to help them to develop. The energy had to be towards survival and not towards their development. You see, we see them behaving like stunted 14 and 15-year-old boys who are caught up into doing what everybody else is doing. They can't think for themselves. They're crippled by peer pressure and groupthink. We women are looking at these men behaving like little boys and teens, except what we're seeing are 25 and 30 and 45 and much older men behaving like this. And because we women are collectively rejecting the notion of being with people who, although they are chronological adults, they have the mental makeup of a child, these stunted men hijacked the incel movement, which was originally a safe space for people of all genders to come together and talk about not fitting into the mainstream society and having a hard time dating as a result of it. They hijacked that safe space, the original incel movement, and turned it into a global temper tantrum. And the intent of their global temper tantrum, it was intended to force us women, against our will, to become their substitute mothers. We women, collectively, are not intimately attracted to children, whether they are actual children or they show up in the form of emotionally stunted adults who are behaving like children. The thought of getting intimate with someone who behaves like a child is an immediate turnoff for 99.9999% of all women. The only person that can truly be attracted to a child or an emotionally stunted, immature, childlike man is someone who has pedo tendencies. And most women are not pedos. We're not turned on by someone acting as a child and seeing us as a parent, but wanting to have intimate access to us. So here we all are, after all of their abuse tactics that took their global temper tantrum into the realm of politics and removed our bodily autonomy as women in an effort to burden us down with babies. because that was a form of economic sabotage on their part that they felt like they could use to force us women into giving them their 1950s fantasy. Okay? They did all of that only for the overall birth rate to decline further. Why? Why, after all of their efforts, did the birth rate decline further? It's because we women do not see ourselves hunching with a person who gives off childlike vibes. Just the mere thought of being with a person who is emotionally stunted is nauseating to the majority of women. And for those few women who do find children to be attractive, they are rightfully being prosecuted and thrown into jail where they belong. But the rest of us women find even the thought of being with a chronological adult who behaves in a childlike way to be repulsive. We are designed by nature to reject people who act like that. However, these incel, red-pilled, manosphere men do not realize it because they come from an environment where it's normal for emotionally stunted men to hunch on underage girls and force them into becoming mothers before they are old enough to even drive, sign a contract, or legally purchase alcohol and tobacco, or to serve in the military. And because these emotionally stunted men cannot handle reality, because even though they are chronological adults, they still think like a child. When they create a baby, when that child is born, and the reality of the cost and time to raise children becomes apparent, it does not trigger within the emotionally stunted man the urge to grow into manhood and accept that responsibility. Rather, it triggers a temper tantrum within them. And what do? They storm off in the form of abandoning their families, including the underage girl they forced into motherhood, who now has to navigate developing into adulthood as a single mother with a baby on her hip. I know that I went off on a far tangent here, but I said all of that to say, going back to dealing with abusive people as it pertains to our current situation, where we are in a state capture with an oligarchy attempting to rob the American people blind of our tax revenue in order to boost their own personal wealth. The only way to deal with abusive people is to place distance between yourselves and them and to cut off access to everything from them. The only way they can attempt to communicate with us is only after they fix the problems they allow to happen with their votes or with their influence. In an abusive person's mind, they think that any attention they get from us or any type of communication they have with us is a win. They feel like they've accomplished something, even when the interaction is negative. That is a win for them. It's an accomplishment. This is why the resident of the White House is currently demolishing it and leaving his permanent mark. It is a win or a form of accomplishment for him. He is establishing a way to get attention into perpetuity, even when it's negative. This is why number 47 is also planning on building the Independence Arch, which is the Arch de Trump, the so-called Arch de Trump, near the Lincoln Memorial. This person, who is a documented racist, is building his Trump arch near the Lincoln Memorial. Lincoln was known for many things, the president during the Civil War, but also the one who freed enslaved people. So Trump is putting his arch de Trump near this Lincoln Memorial so that even when people are disgusted by it, hey, it's still some form of attention and it serves the purpose. The only way to deal with an abuser is to cut them off completely. They need to be weaned off of the idea that we collectively have to cope with their recklessness, immaturity, and willful lack of development. That we have to play the part of the parent, but also that they get to skate by without being disciplined. Listen, we've already tried the gentle approach with these unhinged people, and it did not work because they did not see any value of being better people. To them, being a belligerent bully gets them what they want until it doesn't. And then once it doesn't, as you see with the guy that tried to do Purple Revolution, he didn't come back and say, you know what, I saw the light. I'm sorry, I effed up. Can you teach me what I need to know so that I can fix this? Or these are the steps that I'm taking to fix it. Blah, blah, blah. He didn't come like that. He said purple, which means that he was willing to work with us on the blue side, but he's going to still remain red, right? See, what they will continuously attempt to do is try to manipulate a way into getting us to pay them some sort of attention, and also give them our resources in terms of time, effort, energy, etc. Right now, it's time for them to face the very reality that we attempted to provide education and exposure as a way to guard them from its harm. They are the ones who voted to remove protection, not us, without realizing the protection was protecting them too. They are the ones who are going without SNAP benefits and Medicare, while the same tax dollars that could have been feeding them and buying their medicine are being used to buy Kristi Noem private jets and to demolish the White House in order to build a ballroom, as well as to build an Arc de Trump, or the Independence Arch. These abusive people who took our kindness and our compassion as weakness, they are getting a crash course about learning how to petition the very politicians they voted in for the services they need. Okay? They're learning about this, and they're going to see how they're going to get laughed at and ignored. These very people that were paying them all this attention before they got the vote. These same people are going to laugh at them and ignore them as they starve and become more sick because they can't afford food or medication. Cutting off these abusive people is the only way that they will gain respect for the rest of us and our efforts. Why? Because they are being placed into a situation where they have to get it out of the mud. They have to pull up on their supposed bootstraps, and they have to do for themselves. So allow them to. When they get broke enough and hungry enough and humiliated enough, when they are tired of living out of their car while working 2 full-time jobs or more and still not having any savings, maybe then, they will advocate for the U.S. to have the Nordic model too. They need to feel the sting of reality. And some of you all needed to see just how far an abusive person will go as well. This is part of the reason why I've not created content in a while. Although this channel is small, it is like a chisel against the stone in the hands of others, which when it's in the right pair of hands, will produce a work of art. Or if it's in the wrong hands, it will create a disaster. The content on this channel in the right hands has people talking about unpaid care labor, and they are using nature more as an encyclopedia than they are as an inspiration for a flawed philosophy, which, by the way, I'm not against philosophy. I took philosophy classes in college. Philosophy is great. However, it has a caveat because when that philosophy is flawed, it could take years, if not generations, to realize the extent of the flaw. For instance, I was randomly scrolling through TikTok when I came across a video of a woman who read an article about a female octopus throwing rocks at the male octopus she rejected.
Researchers in Australia filmed them interacting with and even throwing objects at each other. After observing hours of footage, they noticed the creatures, mainly the females, throwing algae, shells, and silt at their counterparts.
I also see more discussions about how males and females act in nature according to observation and not belief. So in the right hands, the chisel creates something that's useful. You understand? The important thing, though, is that people, through observing nature from a theoretical scientific perspective, are seeing the baselines of healthy versus unhealthy masculinity. They are also seeing the rejection instinct within the feminine of nature that has been purposely suppressed by patriarchy within women. And we women are the feminine representation of humanity. And more women are also embracing and getting to know that rejection instinct side of themselves. The rejection of unsuitable men in time will lead to healthier, wealthier, and an overall safer society.
Also, especially young people, because it's fair to say that 80% of the world's problems involve old men hanging on and who are afraid of death and insignificance, and they won't let go. And they build pyramids and they put their names on everything, and they're very anxious about it.
So we can help them.
I will end on this note. This is a depiction of Sekhmet and Ptah. Ancient people understood what it took to keep a civilization going for thousands upon thousands of years. Yes, these are ancient Egyptian deities. And yes, full disclosure, I do practice Kemetic spirituality. Kemet is the ancient name for Egypt. However, when I share Kemetic insight, it is never, nor will it ever be an attempt on my part to proselytize and to get others to do what I do. I'm just sharing my insight. So Sekhmet is a feminine deity who is known as the powerful one. Her name actually means the powerful one. Sekhmet means the powerful one. For those who are familiar with the movie The Color Purple, she shows up as Miss Sophia. She's the energy of Celie also. When Celie was at the dinner table and she told Albert off, even going so far as putting a knife up to his throat in the movie. Also, during the dinner table scene, when Mary Agnes laughed after Celie told Albert off, there was a part where Harpo told her to shut up and that it was bad luck for a woman to laugh at a man. For those that remember that. And then what happened? Miss Sophia started laughing. She started laughing. But you notice Harpo didn't tell her to shut up, right?
Made my life here hell. Cause your daddy ain't nothing but some dead horse shit. Shut up! Ain't do it bad luck for a woman life of the man.
That's because he knew that Miss Sophia would fight him like a dog and would meet him toe to toe if he dared to challenge her. That is Sekhmet's energy. Sekhmet, that is on the side of justice. And her words that come from her mouth is like someone who's drunk. You know how they say that a drunken mind speaks sober thoughts? So, a drunk person will tell you straight. And even if it hurts your feelings, they're not trying to hurt your feelings. They're just telling you like it is. So Sekhmet can be ruthless in standing up for what is right. Well, in a similar sense, Ptah is Sekhmet's husband. Ptah is the deity representing creations such as architecture, sculpting, and other forms of craftsmanship. Ptah's energy is seen when skyscrapers skyscrapers are erected and new technologies are discovered. What the ancients understood is that deities or energies often came in pairs. It's like salt and pepper, for instance. That seemed philosophical, but you get the point. Most people, when there's one, they think of the other. So in order to have one, there is another side that comes with it. So when you see this statue carved from thousands of years ago, representing Sekhmet and Ptah, what it is representing in a mundane sense is that in order to have success and prosperity, that the society, to the point to where the society builds complex structures and used advanced technology, as represented by Ptah. Along with it comes Sekhmet, a very powerful woman who is ruthless in her application of justice, but who is also a healer. You cannot have one without the other. And I have constantly shown the United Nations Human Development Index, the UNHDI. As you see, the nations that top those charts are nations in which the women are more outspoken. Whereas the nations that are at the bottom of that chart, if you look very closely, the women are very repressed. So if we want prosperity, with it comes very outspoken women that tell it like it is. The Miss Sophias, the sillies at the dinner tables in the color purple. That's what it takes in order for the other to exist, and vice versa. And on that note, that's all I have to say for now. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and to click on the notifications bell so that you will know whenever I upload any new content. Take care until next time.
There ain't no kings in the